In Temtem, there are 3 unique starters for players to choose from, but which is the best to use? Each one excels in its own areas and comes with unique play styles. The added benefit of Temtem only having 3 starters also makes it that each one is a complete counter to another, so while each late game has its pros and cons, they will also have an opponent they fully beat. Each starter's full counter makes them very helpful during the main campaign, which they are already very useful in even without said counter. Temtem, developed by Crema, is a Pokémon-like MMO that sold over 500,000 copies in its first month, where players set out into the 6 islands of the Airborne Archipelago for adventure. This includes catching more Temtem, battling through the 8 dojos, and combating the evil Calbal Soto and their plans to control all Temtem. Temtem uses a 2 vs 2 battle style that emphasizes synergy and strategy to go along with raw damage power. Currently, the game has over 160 different Temtem to catch, breed, and battle, many with unique designs from the developers or properly compensated fan inspirations. Temtem recently saw the release of its 1.0 version, which added a plethora of new content for fans to enjoy. When players start their adventure, they will have the choice of 3 starter Temtem: the Crystal-type Crystal, Melee-type Smazy, and Mental-type Hauchik. Each starter is a safe pick for casual play or getting through the main story, and it is not until the late game or PvP that which is used matters. As stated earlier, each Temtem starter counters another, and that cycle goes as follows: Crystal counters Hauchik, Hauchik counters Smazy, and Smazy counters Crystal. Even when each starter receives its second type at its final evolution, this counter cycle stays the same, leaving the 3 perfectly balanced for each other. Temtem, Tortonite, the Crystal Toxic situational tank. Starting with the Crystal line, the Crystal Turtle evolves into its second form Sherald after 30 levels, and finally into its final form, Tortonite, after 21 levels. Once evolved into Tortonite, it gains the Toxic typing, as Temtem is home to many new types Pokémon could add, and Toxic moves. The benefit Tortonite brings to a team is that it is very tanky, with a good special attack, and good at giving status conditions to opponents. If an opponent is in a battle against a Tortonite, there is a good chance they will end up poisoned or trapped, where they cannot be switched out. The Crystal type is a solid offensive type currently, and Tortonite benefits from some of its moves, being able to combo with other strong types like Wind or Melee. However, just as Tortonite has many good things about it, it has as many negatives that balance things out, starting with 2 abilities in Confined and Efficient that are relatively average compared to others. Crystal, akin to Pokémon's notoriously weak Ice type, is very fragile currently in Temtem, with the amount of Melee and Earth types being used, those 2 being Crystal's most significant counters. Tortonite is also very slow and doesn't have a lot of moves with high priority, meaning that the chances it will get knocked out before doing anything are high. Even with Tortonite's high defense and health, its overall weaknesses make it so players have to be wise on how to use it. If Tortonite has a matchup where it can survive multiple turns, it will be a nightmare for opponents, but as soon as a counter appears on the field, it will have to flee or faint. Temtem, Seismich, the Melee Earth Brawler. The second starter line begins with the Melee Chimp Smazy, which evolves into the middle stage Baboon after 29 levels, and finally into Seismich after another 23 levels. Upon reaching Seismich, which draws comparisons to Pokémon's 4th generation Firestarter, Infernape, the Temtem receives the Earth typing to go along with its Melee type, as well as access to a handful of Earth moves. Seismich has a very good amount of health, along with a hard-hitting physical attack and high speed. This all combines to make Seismich a very hard-hitting Temtem that will attack first often and be able to take a couple of hits. Seismich also has 2 powerful abilities in Self-Esteem, which will remove any status condition when Seismich takes out an opponent or Earthbound, which will give Seismich +1 defense every time it uses an Earth move. The downsides of Seismich are much less troublesome, which makes him such a strong choice right now. This type combo has some weaknesses to viable types, and much like how in Pokémon it is important to remember type weaknesses, these combined with its low defense and special defense, Seismich will take a couple of hits, but isn't very tanky. A more minor weakness is one of the strongest melee attacks, Inner Spirit, won't be as effective on Seismich due to its low special attack. Seismich makes an excellent case for competitive viability outside those few weaknesses and deserves its current high-tier placement. Temtem, Naga's the Mental Water Burst special attacker. The final starter line starts with the Mental type Hauchik, which evolves into its middle form Tental after 29 levels, and then into its final form Naga's after another 24 levels. Naga's gains water type to go along with its very good speed and special attack, combining to make it a great burst damage Temtem. Naga's also has an exceptional ability to pair with Temtem weak to water in Water Custodian, making it so any water moves, which are equally strong as with Pokemon's best water starters, targeting a Temtem paired with Naga's, will target Naga's instead. Finally, Naga's access to powerful special moves allows it to fully take advantage of its stats and hit opponents hard. Naga's greatest weakness is that the type combo includes a lot of counters, one being a 4x weakness to electric moves. Couple that with Naga's rather low health and defense means that it becomes more of a glass cannon. Even though it has a respectable special defense, that will not keep it alive as long as players want it to be. Naga's stands out as the best option of the 3 starter evolutions. While not nearly as tanky as the other 2, the benefit of the damage Naga's can put out outweighs this. Given a little support from the other ally Temtem, due to Temtem's unique gamma play for monster fighting and collecting, Naga's survival rate could get a boost and make it so it can continue to dish out damage. Water and Mental also cover more counters than Seismich can, giving it a slight edge. Overall, in the current meta of Temtem, Tortonite cannot survive, due mainly to popular types, while Seismich can work just as great as Naga's, but won't match its overall damage. This means that Naga's stands on the throne of the starter trio due to unmatchable damage output, a wider range of coverage, and the bonus of being able to support its team.